Hey, it's Tim, Pickup Truck Plus SUV Talk. This morning, Ford unveiled the 2022 Ford F-150 Lightning Pro. This is going to be the fleet version of the full-size crew cab Lightning electric truck. And in this video, I'm going to tell you my details, what stood out to me as far as what this truck is being positioned for from Ford. And then we'll talk in the back half how fleet's going to see this truck, kind of look at some total cost of ownership numbers and talk about how the return on investment, kind of do some numbers like that. But let's go ahead and get started on this truck. So this truck is going to be the same kind of configuration that the Lightning has. It's going to be the most popular configuration, right? Crew cab, 5-foot bed, enough to haul. Now for fleets, this would be like an XL version. It's going to have vinyl floors, vinyl seats, easy to clean, easy to repair. And it's going to have two options, the 230-mile range and the 300-mile extended range, same as the Lightning has, right? So it's the same idea, same powertrain, same dual onboard chargers, dual onboard motors, same independent rear suspension. That's all the same. The biggest key is going to be that the price point is going to start at $39,974, so again, $40,000. And for the extended range, it will be about $50,000. Now that is before any state or federal rebates. Right now, Ford still qualifies for the $7,500 federal tax credit. That's the big one. The big keys from this, and I'll look at my notes here, is looking at total cost of ownership. This is a huge deal for fleets, and it's one of the things that people don't always understand, especially when they're saying, oh, EV is the future, EV is the future. Well, total cost of ownership is a big thing for fleets, and we'll get more of the information at the end. Ford sees about 1 million of these trucks on the road by 2030. They're going to have on-site charging, and it's going to be data-driven on-site charging to optimize uptime. Uptime is where the truck is actively doing its job. So, you know, these fleet managers look at total cost of ownership, fleet uptime. This is what they're trying to do is they're trying to keep these vehicles going all the time and keep people working. And looking at total cost of ownership, how much it's going to expend them to do it. So trucks for them are really a tool. That's really what they use them for. And it's just a part of their job. And so Ford is planning on this truck is going to have instant cost savings. This is going to be over maintenance cost and fuel costs. We'll get to that for the gas. They're also made a really interesting point that they're thinking residual values will eventually be similar to gasoline. This is something that doesn't get talked about very much in electric trucks and electric cars. Besides Tesla, most electric cars just are terrible on residual value. And they bring that up, which I'm going to show you a chart here in a little bit. And the reason why they bring that up, because that's a big deal on total cost of ownership, residual value. Looking at the two ranges, there'll be an 80 amp hookup. This is the same 80 amp plug that Ford's offering for the Lightning. They're going to have offering as well for Lightning Pro. The idea is you install this 80 amp plug-in in your shop or your garage, whatever, and you'll do a charge. Now you're going to get 15 to 100% of charge in 8 hours. So again, this is an overnight charging because at night, right, the electrical costs are cheaper because less demand. I say that asterisk currently, because as we keep adding more and more electric vehicles to the grid, electricity is just like any commodity like gas is, or like natural gas, or like coal, or whatever. The more demand you have on the commodity, the more high the price goes. Supply and demand. This will also have the 9.6 kilowatt power on board. That's using the front trunk, or the Mega Frunk, as well as the dual onboard chargers, or not dual, but the 7.2 kilowatt in the bed, like the new Power Boost has. So you have 4 110s, a 220 back there, and then you have the plugs in the back. The idea is you could cut up to 25 miles of plywood on the truck, and you could work on the job site for 3 days if you wanted to. It's got that much power. Again, we talked about the Mega Power Frunk. It's lockable and watertight. We have, like I said, vinyl seats, independent rear suspension, and then we have all the fleet telematics. Looking at, you can track where your vehicle guys are going. You have geofencing to keep them out in a certain range. You can check the status of the truck on your phone, and actually your phone and computer. You can see what it's doing. You can see life wear of it. There's a lot of technology there, and it also has a 4G LTE modem inside, so it'll have over-the-air updates like the F-150 Lightning has, as well as the rest of the F-150 lineup. So, and Sync 4 is standard, and the reason that's standard is because Sync 4 system has the mapping set up so you can figure out where the charging stations are and plan your trips. And so that's the details on the F-150 Lightning Pro. So it's a pretty cool truck, right? So full electric on-demand power. You have the power on job site. You have lockable, sealable storage. I mean, those are really cool features. You can talk in a couple days using power tools. You don't need to have a generator. You don't need to haul the generator with you to job site until you get power installed. A lot of job sites, they'll have power installed right away to get the job site going, or they don't. Some people don't. And so you don't need a generator, don't need a portable power source. The truck can be the power source. So it's a pretty cool option there for fleets. It makes a lot of sense for those, municipal fleets, city fleets, things like that. You're going to see that coming out in news items. You'll see some big companies going to put a big order down on some of these trucks. And some of it's PR, some of it is practical needs, some of it's going to be a combination of things. But when you're looking at fleet stuff and total cost of ownership, I'm going to put this chart on the screen. It's from Bencentric, and it talks about the 5-year cost of ownership and total cost of ownership. And if you can see from this chart, you'll see it's a pretty interesting chart. And this is from the 2019 F-150 Fleet Truck of the Year because of different cab configurations and all the stuff going on this truck. But if you look at the numbers, you have depreciation is your highest amount. Now, I mean, that really messes with people, but that really is a fleet thing where they plan on buying this and selling this. This is a tool they're going to buy, they're going to keep for 4 or 5 years, or sometimes less than that. Ford estimates that their fleet customers, which they actually own 43% of the total market, flips a vehicle once every year to year and a half. They flip out one vehicle from the fleet. So you're constantly rotating vehicles in and out depending on, what the truck's like and what a new one and the new tools. So depreciation is your top amount. You have the state fees, stuff like that. That's when you first bought it. You always got to pay sales tax on that and state fees on that. Financing, and that'll be different for every fleet. Fuel. Now, fuel is the second highest number here. As you keep going down, it stays consistent. And I'm not sure what they base these fuel prices on. 2019 might have been low fuel prices. But again, like electricity, that fuel price will change over time. And so you have fuel prices, then you have maintenance. And as you'd expect, maintenance goes up the longer you own the truck, and you can see the total maintenance. So you're looking at cost per mile, and that is the huge number from this. Cost per mile. How much is it going to cost them to drive with depreciation going, all that stuff factored in. So we don't know depreciation yet because the truck is so brand new. So you're going to have to get some guinea pigs out there buying this truck and have them for a year or two and selling it and see what depreciation turns out to be. But we do have kind of a general sense on fuel. So I've done some other research on this, and the rule of thumb right now is you get 3 to 4 miles per kilowatt hour. And so if you drive 1,000 miles and electrical rates are like 10 cents per kilowatt hour, and this varies throughout the country. There's some that are cheaper, some that are more expensive. Looking at between $25 to $33 to fuel that electric truck per month, okay? If you're to do the gas lane, so crew cab 2.7 liter, which is very popular for fleets, XL, you're looking at the total range would be 572 miles in a 26-gallon tank at 22 miles per gallon. But let's talk about straight across the line. 1,000 miles. 1,000 miles electric is $25.33. 1,000 miles on a gas lane with $3 as the current fuel price is $136. So you're saving $100 a month on fuel by going electric over gas. Now that's 1,000 miles. So if you have a fleet that does that on scale, like you have a bunch of trucks to do this, it does make some sense. The only thing that kind of makes things a little wacky is that XL truck, you're going to look at probably with the fleet discounts and government surplus pricing, government pricings like that for some fleets. But fleet discounts and stuff, I imagine that truck's around 30 to 35, somewhere in that range. Let's say 30 because I think with the incentives, rebates, I think it's like 28 plus a crew cab, kind of in that range. But let's just use whole numbers. So let's say it's 35. Okay, let's say 35, and you want to have a range with the extended range version of the truck, so 300 miles or whatever have you. But you have 35,000 versus 50,000. So you have $15,000 difference there over the course of initial purchase. Plus your fees go higher because when you buy this, a higher sales tax, you're going to pay more for that. And so you're looking at $15,000 difference between the two trucks. You're saving $1,000 a year on fuel. That math doesn't work out if you're going to sell it in 5 years. You won't recoup the difference. Maintenance will be added into that as well. So EV should have less maintenance than a gasoline truck would. So you're going to save some money there, but again, you're going to have to do the math. That's why fleets are going to be some fleets going to go for this quite a bit because political pressure and PR stuff. Other fleets going to have a really interesting time thinking about this because you have the installation costs of the chargers, you have initial purchase costs of the trucks, you have the unknown of depreciation and residual value, and then you have switching people over, getting your people used to driving an electric truck with that range and understanding how it all works. So, all right, one more thing that's going to make an impact on fleets, whether they're going to buy this or not, is going to be the fact that there is only the crew cab. There is no extended cab, there is no regular cab, and there is limited bed choices with just the 5.5-foot bed. There's no 6.5-foot bed or 8-foot bed in regular cab. So kind of limiting some of the variables making the most popular version may be good, all well and good for consumers, but for commercial uses, it may not always work for everybody. Very interesting truck. Lots of interesting stuff to unpack as we dive more into electric trucks and how they're going to transfer over. But Ford is very smart, and they said they don't anticipate every fleet going electric right away. It's going to be a continual change, and it's going to be the continual entry. This is the first entry they have electric work trucks, and you're going to see this kind of changed over time. You'll see more and more fleets will go EVs as they start doing the math, as we start understanding residual value, depreciation, as we start really seeing how all going to work. I think you're going to eventually see it. So it probably will be, probably still a decade out from full EV for a fleet, just because of all these factors involved. And these fleet guys are pretty practical guys. If they can save some money and they can have lower total cost of ownership, and they can have a less hassle with an EV, we're having less parts and having such a beast in an EV where it's like 775 horsepower or foot-pounds of torque, that's impressive. They will go for that. But it's not going to be the green angle. These guys have a job to do. They can talk green all you want, but they have a job to do, have to get the job done, and so that's when we look at total cost of ownership. So that was pretty interesting stuff. Hey, for more interesting stuff, check it out over here, website down below. As always, thanks for watching. I'll see you down the road.